Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Oh, this feels so different. Maybe this eyeliner doesn't work anymore. As I'm talking, I'm losing track of where I am in my routine. Maybe this eyeliner is too pale to see. Look, I'm glowing. Maybe this eyeliner's going in the trap. Hi guys, so this is a video I've wanted to make for a while. I've said multiple times that I have been in theater off and on for about
20 years?
More than that now. About 25 years. A little more than 25 years. Because I started when I was 15 and I'll be 43 next month. So a long time. And most of that time was spent backstage, meaning you know, I did tech, I did ticket sales, I did set construction, I did all of that stuff. And one of the things that I learned once I did go on stage is the makeup you wear on stage is very, very different from the makeup you wear off stage. And this is the light I'm going to use at the end to show you why. And you can see it is incredibly bright. It brings out every flaw and it makes you look significantly paler than you are. Now when we're applying makeup backstage, we're applying it in front of very, very brightly lit mirrors, usually. Sometimes when you're in community theater, there's a limit to how many lit mirrors there are, and you just have to kind of do it by guess. But once you've done it a few times, you kind of know what it's supposed to look like. I am going to do this side of my face stage makeup and this side a very light work look. I'm going to draw a line down the middle of my face using an eyeliner to demonstrate where the line is. Now obviously, normally, I wouldn't draw a line on my face. I mean, unless I was playing a character that required a line on my face. Now if you want to know why I did that after I put my toner on, no matter what, hi, Jazz. No matter what level of makeup we're doing, you always want to start with face care. I am going to use two different moisturizers though. On my regular side, I'm using the Medeka cream, which is it's a lighter moisturizer. It's going to absorb a lot more into my skin. It's not gonna leave a whole lot behind, and it's just a lightweight, good day moisturizer. But it still does basically the same thing. On the other side, I'm gonna use my Iva Skin, and this is a much thicker moisturizer, and it's an intensive Cica repair cream, but it's going to leave a little bit more of a barrier between my skin. And when I'm applying a ton of makeup, I want a thicker barrier to kind of help me make sure, one, that my face is moisturized, and I don't want the actual makeup chemicals absorbing into my skin. Now, I tend to use nicer makeup so that if they do absorb, it's not the end of the world. You know, when you're wearing stage makeup every day, which when you're in a play, you're wearing it 3 to 7 days a week, depending on how long it's running, want a little bit more. Now, next up I'm going in with the Essential Mule Micro Fitting Mist. This is very similar to a toner, but it's also kind of, it's a little bit of a primer and a little bit of a toner. And I use it whether I'm doing stage makeup or non-stage makeup. I'm only going to put my Essential Mule Cream on this side. Now this is a face primer, and there's a reason I'm only putting it on the one side this time. And that's because all I'm gonna be doing on the non-stage side is using a primer type. So I don't actually need a primer if all I'm doing is a primer. For the stage side, I'm doing a lot of makeup, so I really want to make sure I'm prepping the surface and making it ready to receive makeup. I'm not doing a character that has a very obvious makeup. What would I do if I was just a normal character on a normal stage? And I'm going in with a little bit of a heavy eyeliner. Prep on eyeliner likes to wander. That's fine, you just take a little pad and wipe it off and redo it if you need to. Because I'm gonna be coming back in with a concealer, so I'm not that worried about it. Now, every day for work, I don't wear a lot of eyeliner, so I'm just gonna go with a very thin on top of the eye eyeliner. Just a little bit. That's it. Just a little bit to highlight the top. Now with neither look am I wearing false lashes, but for two very different reasons. And both of them are gonna get a little primer before I do the actual eyeshadow. And I'd use the same primer because I wouldn't wear false lashes on stage unless the character called for it, because I'm not used to them. And you don't want to do something on stage that is going to cause you to be uncomfortable, or that's going to cause you to do something you're not super aware of, you know? I wouldn't wear them on stage because I'm not used to them in general. And I'm actually gonna be using the same palettes on both my eyes. I'm using the P. Louise on the pole, and then I'm using a little bit of the P. Louise Wishes that just came in the budget box. So it's just about how much I'm applying and where. So for this stage, I'm starting by kind of just adding a little bit of highlight to the inner eye, and I'm actually gonna add even a little bit of shimmer highlight to the inner eye, because one of the things in theater is you really want attention drawn to your eyes. In live theater, the audience does not sit up close and personal to where the actors are working. And so much of our emotion comes from our eyes. You really want to make sure that they can see that. And on the natural side for work, I'm just adding kind of this light brown over most of my eye. I'm not doing anything super intense. And while yes, I want it to be natural on the stage side, natural is a relative term. What's gonna look natural on stage is not at all what's going to look natural in regular daylight. And even this is a little bit heavy for what I would normally wear, just, you know, a real light natural look, but I do like a little bit heavier eyes anyways, so this would be what I would wear to work. It's just a lot faster and a lot simpler. I've taken a lot of my older palettes and smaller palettes and put them in this thing, and I'm actually going to work to tame down my eyes. I think I got a little bit too much. It's still, you know, a little bit of a smoked out eye look, and I actually think for what I am wanting to do, I'm gonna go to something I'm very comfortable with for my stage makeup, and that is not the P. Louise. I'm changing my mind mid-decision. And you actually don't want to use a lot of sparkle tones on stage because they will randomly catch the light and look funky. And even when doing kind of a more natural look, it's gonna be a little bit of smoked out eye. You know what, I went in with too dark to begin with here, so we're gonna back out a little bit. We're gonna fix it. As like I said, I'm not used to using the P. Louise. That's why I haven't done stage makeup using P. Louise, so I need to kind of back out. I don't want to be unfair and make it look ridiculous for the sake of making it look ridiculous. That's not my point. I just panned one of my favorite colors. I've hit pan, folks, I've hit pan. That's a lot more natural looking and a lot less, whoa. Even from the eye alone before I put in anything else, this side's a lot more dramatic than this side. And this side's just kind of more of a, yeah, I'm wearing eyeshadow, yeah, I want you to see my eyes, but it's not supposed to really do anything other than bring attention to it, you know? Okay, and I'm not super happy with either, but normally I have a color scheme to go with. I don't normally wear nudes.
Okay, so Editor Bell cutting in. I just want to say, I have never just had a full nothing but browns eye look on stage. I don't know what the hell made me decide that's what I was going to do with this. I've always had characters that have something to it, or some color or something. Both of these eye looks look horrific. So I'm aware of that. I'm sorry about that. This is not how my eyes look on stage. At some point, I will redo this, at least the eye part of it, and do an actual stage eye look, because I never ever wear only brown eyeshadow, ever. And I did not realize that until I was halfway through doing this. I always wear color, even to work. Like today, I had pink eyeshadow all day at work. I work in a very small office, and people think I'm crazy. I'm sure, you know, they walk in, they're like, okay, here's this middle-aged woman with pink eyeshadow. All right, in Arkansas. Whatever. So I don't know why the hell I decided to go with brown for this, but I am so sorry that the eyes look horrific. I know At some point, I will re-edit this with better eyes. But this is what I have for tonight, so there you go.
Now the fun part. At least for me, I think this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be interesting, but it's gonna be fun. For just a light everyday, I would probably go with my Patrick top because it is a very sheer light coverage and it's gonna let mostly my skin show through. It's a little lighter than my skin tone, but not by much. And sometimes I have even gone without using foundation at all for going to work days, but if I'm gonna use any foundation, I'm going to use something very light coverage. It's just gonna give me a decent base. On the other side, where I want to make sure that light reflects how I want it to, I want a lot thicker coverage. So I'm going in with my Tier, which is kind of my thickest, highest coverage foundation. I have a Kat Von D that's a little bit thicker coverage, but it does not match my skin tone. So I kind of feel like that's not fair. I don't want it to look different because one matches and one doesn't. That's not what we're going for at all. And I really want to make sure I have a good thick layer of foundation because I'm gonna be sweating my ass off on stage. And this is the first step to keeping the makeup on. I did not give my primer enough time to dry before I added my eyeshadow, my eyeliner. Normally I would give it like 5-10 minutes, go over lines, something, so it doesn't go wandering like that. But that's okay, there's always a fix. So there's definitely a difference at this point, but it's not huge until you turn on the really bright light. Now, this side is not changing as much. This side is a lot more glossy, you see a lot more reflection, and it's reflecting a lot more light. This side is absorbing a lot more light, and that's kind of the point. You want to reflect light only in places that you choose to. Now, the next step starts out the same on both sides. I'm just gonna do a little bit of jelly blush. Like I said, starts out the same, but on the stage side, we're gonna build up a lot more. And normally I'd be blending a lot more as I go, but go into work side, just want it to look kind of nice and blendy, so you don't necessarily see that it's blush. Stage makeup side, it's gotta take more. It's gonna take a few layers to get it where I need it to get. Because like right now, they look pretty close. I'm not done yet. This is why in so many of my videos, especially early on as I'm learning, it looks like I'm blush blind. It's not that I don't see it, it's that I'm thinking stage makeup. I'm not thinking everyday going out makeup. And I'm not as worried about getting this blend perfect because of other things we're gonna do. So again, huge difference. Very, very natural, subtle, a whole lot of blush. There's a reason. There's always a reason. Now, I wish I had a bronzer palette, a cream bronzer palette that worked with my skin tone. Not having that. See, what I've been doing is using my red. I cannot use a red contour or bronzer on stage. If I do, it is going to look more red than it does in person. So sorry, I know this doesn't match my skin, but this is the closest I have. And it's gonna be okay. But it is important to do a layer of contour on stage. Again, just because we're putting so much makeup on our face and the lights are going to pull so much color from our face. We wanna make sure we are directing the eye where we wanna direct the eye. So why am I not using my e.l.f. contour? Because I've used e.l.f. on stage and it doesn't hold up stage lights. That's the biggest reason. e.l.f. just isn't strong enough. It wears off too quickly. It will not last even a whole act under that intensity of light and that much sweat. Been there, done that. For the sake of showing this, use the P. Louise. It's a little too yellow for my skin. This line you see here, that is my white hair. I'm not dyeing my hair for this. I promise that's my hairline. I'm not even gonna put contour on at all on my work side because normally I don't feel like I need much. Okay, the last thing is tape the concealer under the eyes. I do this for work, sometimes I don't. It kind of depends on how I slept the night before. I'm not going to be putting any highlighter whatsoever on the stage makeup side because highlighter generally has shimmer in it. And when you put shimmer on your face and then go under stage lights, it magnifies it 1,000 times. And while that might be perfectly fine for rock stars and anyone like that, you don't want shine on your face to be distracting during the show. If you're the rock star, you're the center of attention, cool beans fine, knock yourself out. Even if you are the main character in a play, there is a difference between drawing attention by your behavior and drawing attention by your makeup. And there are many, many characters in theater who want to draw attention because of how they behave. You never want to draw attention away from what's going on stage because your makeup is catching the light and blinding somebody in their eye. But I do like a bit of a dewy look for work. So again, the next step is very similar. The next step is similar concept, different products. Now, sometimes you have seen me use my Laura Geller pressed face powder many, many times. And if I'm wearing like a glam look, or if I'm wearing, makeup to film in, or if Wolf and I were going out, I would absolutely use the Laura Geller in normal everyday situation. I am doing a very light, natural look for work. I don't need a real heavy face powder for a natural, everyday, going to work look. I do, however, need quite a bit of face powder to hold in that sweat so you don't see it dripping down my face. You'll see me do this layer, and then you'll see me do a setting layer as well. So a lot of times when I'm doing my face for work, instead of going in with pressed powder, I will use a puff and setting powder, and that's it over my cream layer. Just enough to give it somewhat of a matte look. I'm not trying to cover anything up. I don't expect to sweat a lot today. I just want it to look like skin, and powder makes it look a little more like matte skin. It's time to put on the layer that you're actually gonna see. We put the cream on first, so if the powder, it just kind of keeps it permanent. So now I'm gonna go in with my Lorella Chiseled Get Snatched bronzer / contour on the stage side. And this is where it's gonna kind of get it back to my actual skin tone. Kind of, but not completely. And unless I'm playing like an orphan in Oliver and Company or somebody from the French Revolution in Les Miserables, I'm not gonna go crazy with the bronzer, although it feels like I'm going crazy with the bronzer. But I'm just going to circle my face, and then I'm gonna take a little brush and do the side of my nose. And I know, it kind of looks like I went crazy with the bronzer, but have patience, folks, have patience. Smooth it out just a little bit. And the blush is where it starts getting scary on the stage side. I'm gonna go in with a brighter color. I am gonna try to use a light hand so it's not as shocking because I'm using a very bright color, but I definitely want to have color on my cheeks. I'm going to go in with a much darker towards the back. And again, I'm trying to use a lighter hand because it's a lot. I know it's a lot. And then you gotta blend it out so that it looks natural and not like you've just got a freaking line on your face. It's still a lot of blush. I know that. Believe me, I am aware of how much blush I have just put on my face. And I am aware of how insane it looks. But remember, it's gonna look totally different once I turn the light on. Now, I am gonna add a little bit more color for work just because I like blush, but not nearly as much as I did. So I'm going in with my Ofra palette, which is just gonna let me add just a hint of color and a slightly darker color on the back part. So it's just kind of blending and like up here, that looks like a lot right now. I know, but it's not that much. And I do this every day too, where I'm like, okay, wipe it off, wipe it off. I didn't want as much as that. But yeah, it looks kind of just, it's there. I like a blush look. I like glowing. Sorry, I do. This is for work, so I would use one of my tamer highlighters for work. I know it's shocking, I actually do have tame stuff. I'm going in with Estate, put a little bit under the eye, a little bit in the T-zone, a little bit there, and a little bit on the nose. It looks very different. And it feels so weird doing half and half. Now let's talk lipstick. For work, Something very simple, just add a little bit of color. And I'm actually going in with my YSL. It's not even really a lipstick. It's more a lip gloss, but it just adds a little bit extra color. I like a little bit of sparkle, so I'm also gonna go in with my Lorella Sparkle over it. I would not use sparkle lipstick on stage for the same reason I don't use sparkle like highlighter. I want a lot more color, and I'm actually gonna end up doing a couple layers. So I'm going in first with the like a lip crayon that's going to give it a very heavy lip liner kind of look. It's actually a matte lipstick, but it works as lip liner. And then I'm going in with kind of a darker brick red. This way, by doing as many layers of lipstick as I'm doing, even if I touch things, if I do whatever, it's not going anywhere. Now, the exception to this, or one of the questions that I know somebody's got, with this many layers of lipstick, what if you have a kissing scene? Good question. If I had a kissing scene, I would add on top of this, first I would use like a setting powder on them, and then I would apply a clear lip gloss on top of that. And yes, I literally mean I would put setting powder on my lips and then a lip gloss over it, and that would lock in the color, but putting the gloss on it would make it look freshly applied. And that way the only thing that would get on the guy's makeup would be the lip gloss as opposed to all of this red. But remember, the men are wearing lipstick too. Probably not as bright a lipstick. A man would probably wear a color like this, maybe a little bit darker, depending on how his natural lips are. Probably no darker than this. But men wear lipstick on stage too, because we're talking on stage. We want you to see our mouth move. So we want to make sure we have color, and a very contrasting color with our teeth. The next step is again something I'm going to do on one side but not the other, and that is a setting powder. Now, it doesn't hurt to put setting powder on this side of my face. It's not as needed. I do use a brush for that, just to have more control. And the setting powder is, again, going to just be another layer that the sweat has to go through before the makeup moves. And you don't want to be gentle with the setting powder. The more layers the sweat has to get through, the longer it is before it starts moving. And you're gonna touch up between every single scene or act anyways. I'll go ahead and put a little setting powder on my, I do most days, just because it gives it kind of a soft finished look. And I do live in Arkansas and we are approaching summer, so yeah, I'd probably wear a little setting powder. On top of all of this, I would also put a setting spray on. I have some setting sprays over here. I have a variety of them. I would probably use like the Shades by Shan setting spray. This is one of the best ones that I've had. It's got a little something in it that kind of helps it set. I am not using a setting spray today because I'm going to be taking this off about 5 minutes after I'm done filming. There are 2 steps I do after setting powder and before setting spray. The first, I have a lot of white hair, and that means my eyebrows are a little harder to see. Now in person, I don't feel like it's a big deal. I will occasionally use a little brow gel, but not very often. On stage, always. I use the FanFest every day. It's a very thick, really pretty mascara, and it's going to add a lot to your eyes, but we're doing a subtle look for work. So for once, I'm gonna use my Well People. It's a good mascara, it wears well, it's gonna last you throughout the day, it lifts and separates and all that good stuff, but it more adds color to what you already have. It's not a super lengthening, it's not a super enhancing eye mascara. This, honest God, I wear the Benefit at FanFest every day. For the theater, I would either probably go with my Tarte or my Kat Von D. Both of these are tubing mascara, which means they're gonna wrap around your lashes, they're gonna make them look thicker, and they're going to make them look longer. I'm gonna go with the Kat Von D just because I haven't used it in a while and I feel like it. And honestly, I have before and probably would again, put mascara on, let it dry, and then do a second coat. Does it make your eyelashes crunchy? Abso-frickin-lutely. Does it make them look long and luscious? Abso-frickin-lutely. A lot of people wear fake lashes on stage, and that's fine. That's probably a better thing to do, but since I am not currently comfortable with fake lashes, I until recently did not own any, and I didn't wear them very often. I don't, because I don't want something on stage that I haven't, that it's gonna make me like blink too much and feel weird, and I'm constantly gonna be worried, did they come off? Did they come off? Oh my God. So I just don't do it. There you go. This side looks a lot heavier than this side. And it's like, but yeah, why would you do that? Well, now we're gonna get the light test. This side with the light looks pretty pale. I still look very washed out. You can tell it's catching the light here and here a lot. It's very, very washed out. Other than the looks weird here because of the line. I don't look washed out. And this is not an actual stage light. It's not quite as bright as a stage light. And it's not, you know, a stage light would have a filter on it that's like a flesh tone filter to keep it from looking so much. But this is the closest I have. So let's move it right in front so you can see both at the same time. With super bright light, you need more makeup because it's going to disappear. I have even been known to use a darker foundation because I am so freaking pale. I don't like to, but I've done it before when directors asked me to. Let's remove the white line by brushing my hair out, because the white line kind of gives away where my face ends, where my grays are growing out of my purple hair. Again, like I said, this is not an actual stage light in my face. It's just the closest approximation I have. But hopefully this explains a little bit why the normal makeup you wear, there's no blush on. Like, you can't see any blush. You can hardly see any eyeshadow. I look like a ghost. My lips, the only reason you can see them is the little bit that's like peeking through from the other side. They are actually like disappearing into my face. This side, you can very clearly see my lips. The blush is probably still a little heavy, but it's me. I like a heavy blush. The eyes are still dramatic. I'm trying to see them and I can't see them with my eyes closed. It looks more like a human. So anyways, it feels very different. Like with the light out, when I'm just doing normal look, the camera, remember, the camera kind of acts like a stage light a little bit. So this feels very, very light to the camera. In person, it doesn't look that light. But it's a much tamer look. This is like, holy crap, without the light, why are you wearing that much makeup? Yep. If you're not saying, holy crap, I look like a person who wears too much makeup and works at the night, then you don't have stage makeup on. So, the really fun thing is when we get a virgin man in a play. And the first time he realizes he has to wear makeup, and he's like, oh, okay, I'll throw a little powder on. And we're like, no, no, no. You're getting eyeliner. You're getting mascara. Most guys, their first show, they struggle the worst with the mascara. And I'm telling you, I have seen guys say, no, I'm not doing eyeliner and mascara. And they walk out on stage and we take their picture with full lights and they walk backstage and they're like, fine, teach me how. You look ridiculous without it. You have to have it. Same with the lipstick. You know, guys will be like, nah, just put some powder on me. I'll be fine. No, you won't. You look like a freaking ghost. You're going to learn how to do makeup. And, no, I'm a female. Every character I play, it's okay to know that I'm wearing makeup. Like, I want you to know I'm wearing makeup. It's totally fine that my character is wearing blush. We do a more toned down look on men. You know, they're not gonna have a bright red lipstick. They're not gonna have a super pink blush. They're gonna have a slightly darker than their skin tone blush. They're not gonna have this full eyeshadow thing. They're gonna have eyeliner and just a slightly darker brown than their natural skin tone over the entire eye. We don't make them up for the stage. We just darken what it already exists so that it doesn't look washed out. But I've never played a male character. I've always played women, so I want to look full made up. Yeah, so anyways, I hope this was interesting or entertaining, and I'm gonna go wash this off because this feels weird as hell. Bye guys!